Namaskar. Hello friends. Today we will discuss what is God consciousness. Importance of God consciousness. Many accomplished musicians use the accompaniment of a tambura or tanpura, which is a stringed musical instrument. This tambura player keeps a constant drone of one or more intonations to which the musician anchors his music so that a pleasant resonance is achieved. We as spiritual beings need to have the tambura of God consciousness in the background all the time. That will help us remain anchored to the divine scheme, producing a pleasantly resonant life. When a fault develops in electric equipment, electric current can pass through an exposed conducting surface that is not expected to be carrying any current under normal functioning of the equipment. If we touch that surface and are grounded, the current passes through us, giving us a shock. To prevent such a shock, the electrical supply system needs good earthing, which provides a path of least resistance to the faulty current, which then does not travel through our body. We humans, in a mental sense, are like an electrical equipment. Our thinking process is like a constant flow of current. When a desire comes into our mind, our thinking becomes even more charged and the current becomes stronger. The more intense a desire, the stronger this current will be. This causes our overall mental health to be affected, like an electric shock would affect our physical body. To prevent such an ill effect of strong desires, our mental system needs a good earthing, and that earthing is God consciousness. If we are in God consciousness, we can examine a desire as soon as it arises in our mind. We can see if it is really necessary to pursue it or if it can be discarded. Even if we feel it needs to be pursued, our God consciousness enables us to temper the desire. We are able to tell ourselves that our life is not for satisfying our conditioned mind, which is simply a parasite. We are all the time conscious that our life is for a divine purpose because we are indwelt by the divine itself. Even an apparently undesirable scenario or a difficulty or a painful situation, etc., cause a similar charging up of our mental processes. And even that can do with the earthing of God consciousness. We will then be able to tell ourselves that this too shall pass. We will even believe that all kinds of experiences are a part of life that the divine in us has chosen to have. We will then think that it is not the conditioned I which is experiencing anything, but rather the divine I that is experiencing it simply as an observer, as if this life is a movie without getting affected by the experience. In this way, God consciousness helps prevent the frequent shocks to us, thereby keeping us in good spiritual health. What is God consciousness? Why we should look for it, and how? It is said that a spiritual seeker's aim is to get into God consciousness and remain in it for as long as possible. What exactly is God consciousness? Simply stated, it is thinking about God and not thinking about the physical world in general and our limited body and ego in particular. God consciousness is the big thing in the spiritual pursuit. What exactly is it, and how does one try to be in it? Here are some of my ideas. God consciousness is a constant awareness that there is God in everything. It is a firm faith that everything is happening in accordance with His wish and plan. It is a constant feeling of surrender to the Almighty. It is a mindset that believes that all my experiences, though perceived at my limited bodily and egoic levels as desirable or undesirable, they fit perfectly into the big picture of the Creator. It is a belief that though I, with my body, seem distinct from the rest of the physical creation, we are all just one, like all the different characters in the dream, which are just parts of one single dream consciousness. At least a small segment in my consciousness that is constantly looking at life every single moment from a higher perspective, going beyond the limited identity of body, mind, and ego. That is what God consciousness is. It is an awareness that it is all God, God and God, right from before I was born, through my life in this world, and even after my physical death. That is God consciousness. Why is God consciousness so central to spirituality? Spirit is something beyond the physical world. So the way to go beyond it is by being immersed in the thoughts of God, who is much more than this physical world. Many great self-realized masters have been known to be in God-conscious state all the time or most of the time. Guru Nanak Dev was a storekeeper at the state granary of the Nawab. One day he was measuring grain and counting the number of measures. When he reached the count of 13, that is Tera in Punjabi language, Guru Nanak Ji remembered God and went into ecstasy, because the word Tera, also meaning yours, made him suddenly think that everything belongs to God. So he got stuck on that word and kept saying Tera for all the subsequent measures. Sant Gora Kumbhar, who was a potter, got very ecstatic in the remembrance of God one day while working in his occupation of pottery making. In that state he fired the kiln without realizing that a cat had delivered some kittens inside the kiln. It is said that God himself saved the kittens for the sake of the Sant, who would otherwise have felt a great remorse had he discovered the burnt kittens later. But that is about the real masters. What about us lesser beings? Can we afford to be as God conscious as that in our day-to-day work? We may land into serious blunders and lose our job. However, here is a practical approach as follows. If we are still required to be engaged in a job for making a living, we should sincerely remember God before beginning our work and again after ending our work for the day. If it is possible, we should take a brief break from the work periodically, say of just a couple of minutes, not more, and during this break we should remember God. If we do not have to engage much in serious worldly tasks, we should remember God as much as we can. Any of the common Maha Mantras like Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare are a good means of remembering God. The central idea of remembering God is to keep telling us repeatedly that this whole creation, including my life, is for a divine purpose and not for fulfilling my bodily and ego-based desires. Then we will gradually be able to transcend the physical and reach the spiritual. There is divine in everything. Do you really believe that there is God in everything? If so, read the following common scenario and evaluate for yourself how far you are truly established in that concept. You have a 25-year-old son. He spends too much time outside home, going around with his friends and having a good time. You have told him a few times to keep these things in check. You have also indicated to him that he should put the spare time to better use by taking up a part-time professional course or preparing for MBA entrance test. But your son does not change. Now, are you able to tell yourself that there is God in your son and that he is experiencing a particular life at this point in time? Are you able to tell yourself that you are not the one who should dictate how God in your son should live, especially after you have done your duty of educating him and enabling him to stand on his own feet? If you are able to do this, you are truly established in this spiritual concept. But on the contrary, if you keep agonizing constantly and keep arguing heatedly with your son whenever possible, then you are not established in this concept. Keep telling yourself that there is divine and divine alone in everyone. This helps control our negative emotions. Contemplate on the following. 1. Sometimes you are angry at someone because she did something that you don't like. In such a situation, tell yourself that there is divine in that person as also in you. Then you can realize that it is the divine Leela, that is play, that has split the one divine into two, the other person and yourself, and created a particular situation to enjoy the dynamics. In any case, it is something that is momentary and shall pass. Secondly, sometimes you feel jealous of someone else because she has got something that you haven't. Then tell yourself that there is divine in that person who wanted that particular thing, and the divine in you did not want it. Tell yourself that the divine in you is sure to get whatever he wants. Thirdly, sometimes you compare yourself with someone else and your ego gets a boost or it gets hurt depending upon the relative superiority or inferiority that you feel. Tell yourself that one divine has split into two unequal parts for enjoying a particular interaction, and it is not right for our conditioned thinking to be judgmental about the divine play. It is important to keep in mind that if two persons are equal, there may not be much of dynamics, just a sparring match at best. Like if two connected tanks have equal level of water, no flow will happen. In short, if you remain constantly aware that there is a higher power that is behind everything that seems to be happening, then the negative effects of any situation will get eased quickly. Come to think of it, with that kind of God consciousness, even undue excitement on account of something pleasant and likable also will not come about. It is useful to think that there is divine in everyone and that divine chooses the kind of experience that fits the big picture of his. So who am I to want to see another person happy? There is a wise saying, you can fool all people sometime, you can fool some people all the time, but you can't fool all the people all the time. To apply it in a spiritual context, I would say You can please all the people sometime. You can please some people all the time. But you can't please all the people all the time. The basic point is that my objective should not be to please anyone, even one person. The reason is I do not know if my action will indeed please the other person. It will depend on many factors that I may not be aware of. In fact, more often than not, to feel pleased or not is one's own choice, albeit subconsciously. Having said that, it does not mean I shouldn't even try to please another person. By all means, I must do what I think is right and what seems to have the best chance of pleasing that person. But I should not be attached to seeing that person happy as a consequence of my action. I will stop here. I'll see you the next time. Until then, bye. Take care.